Here in Austin, several Austin City Council members are asking for clarity in how Austin police interact with immigration enforcement operations.
This comes after a disturbance call earlier this month where Austin police interacted with a woman who had an administrative warrant issued by ICE. Advocates say that led to the deportation of that mother and her 5-year-old daughter, who is a U.S. citizen. Joining us now to talk more about this is KVUE senior reporter Tony Plohetsky. Tony, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Let's take a step back, and I want you to talk to us about how we got here, both dealing with the Texas law and what's required of officers, right, and APD's policy.
So, of course, the framework in all of this has become increasingly complicated. But if you go back to 2017, Austin police and city officials say that they are having to work within that framework. That is when a 2017 law, SB4, you may remember it. It was characterized then and still is as Texas anti-sanctuary cities law. And essentially that law said that a law enforcement entity, a local agency, for example, cannot prohibit its local police officers from working with ICE. So in other words, if a local police officer comes across a warrant, as an officer did in this case, an administrative warrant, a civil warrant, and they see a notification to call ICE, that officer then can use his or her own discretion about notifying ICE. But the Austin Police Department, they believe, are prohibited by law from telling those officers, you can't call ICE.
But now APD has changed its policy.
So what the Austin Police Department has done is tweaked its policy. So what I mean by that is the policy has given officers discretion to call ICE if that is what they choose to do when they see one of these warrants. What the Austin Police Department has done in recent days, though, is add some clarifying language and instructions to the policy. One of the things that they cannot do under the current directive that has been issued this week is that they are not allowed to wait at a scene and detain someone for ICE to arrive, which sometimes can take minutes, sometimes several hours. So the chief has instructed the force, you may not wait unless you get special instructions from the watch commander and from the duty chief at the time. And what the chief says is that higher-ups within the department will work with the officers to decide, for example, if a person is believed to be a public threat or if there are other sort of circumstances that would necessitate them waiting for ICE to arrive.
Can you talk to us about, you kind of talk there about what the chief is telling those officers to do. What's the reaction from the council in all of this?
The council in all of this is mostly wanting to make sure that the community is informed about all of this and that they have all of the facts. Of course, it has been the city's position, and council members say it is steadfastly their position that they do not want local law enforcement working with ICE, but the ability to actually prohibit that, again, going back to that 2017 law, makes that very complicated. So a lot of this is sort of expressing their desires, expressing their wishes, but again, the ability to really say, APD officers, you may not call ICE, especially if you see one of those warrants, is really a very difficult dynamic for the city that they're in.
And different time that we're in now, too.
Absolutely. And one of the things I do just want to add is that part of the confusion has come from the Trump administration adding hundreds of thousands of these administrative warrants into the system that law enforcement across the country use to help do background checks. So it's coming up more because they're running across it more. So that's why this issue has really come to the forefront this week.
Giving us some context there, Tony. We appreciate your input here.